At the end of their day, these high school students make their way home. The same ground they're walking on, the ground you're standing on, was once traveled by prehistoric creatures millions of years ago. The secrets of these incredible animals lay buried for ages. Until a road construction crew with the Tennessee Department of Transportation dug into a deposit of rich, dark clay. Delving into the new material, the state's investigation team immediately saw bone fragments and soon found the jaw of a tapir. At first, they believed they had discovered an Ice Age site, almost 10,000 years old. But another discovery changed everything. By uncovering an alligator skull, they realized the site dated to a much warmer and far more distant time period than the Ice Age. The fate of the site was uncertain, as news of the amazing discovery quickly spread.
TDOT officials say as many fossils will be preserved in this area before this road construction picks up again.
And it may be several million years old, So this is a very significant find.
The kind of stuff that you see on the Discovery Channel will be right here in Gray, Tennessee.
After his tour of the site, Governor Don Sundquist called for a plan to divert the highway and preserve the Gray fossil site. East Tennessee State University President Dr. Paul Stanton developed a new paleontology program to be headed by Dr. Stephen Wallace. Dr. Wallace would lead the ongoing excavations, traveling back through the layers of time to explore a diverse ecosystem that thrived right here in Gray, Tennessee, long after the first life formed on this planet, and long after the dinosaurs. Just 4.5 to 7 million years ago, a cave formed in the limestone. The surface collapsed, creating a deep sinkhole. As it gradually filled with water, the sinkhole became a pond surrounded by a lush forest. A vibrant ecosystem thrived here for several thousand years. Today, the Gray fossil site is the largest Miocene site in the eastern United States, 4.5 million years old. It's a site that paleontologists dream about. During the summer months, the team of ETSU students and staff, as well as volunteers, work right here, just outside, scraping away the centuries to uncover fossils. In some cases, the size and shape of just a single tooth can help identify an entire species and provide clues about its diet. Gradually peeling back the layers of time, one of the first discoveries made by Dr. Wallace and his team was a nearly complete rhinoceros. Since then, the remains of at least 4 additional rhinos, including a rhino fetus, have been discovered in the same test pit. For a paleontologist to discover a single new species in a lifetime is extraordinary. But Dr. Wallace's team has already unearthed 2, including a new species of red panda. In a pioneering effort that brings together paleontology and surveying, Dr. Jerry Nave works with Dr. Wallace's team to map the site. Using GPS technology and conventional surveying, they're able to locate the pits in a 3-dimensional virtual environment and pinpoint each bone within the pit. During the winter months, ETSU's team moves inside to carefully piece together their discoveries. With their meticulous work, the team reconstructs all sorts of creatures, from large beasts to the smallest of rodents. Layer upon layer, century upon century, the Gray fossil site has already uncovered significant scientific findings. The discovery of a new red panda has added further support to the theory that animals migrated over a land bridge between North America and Eurasia. And this is only the beginning. It may take 100 years to get to the bottom of this extraordinary Miocene deposit. Every day brings something new. Now it's your turn to explore, here and in your daily life. Dig deeper and uncover the newest discoveries.
Welcome to the Gray Fossil Site. The part of the exhibit that you are seeing now is what represents our Miocene environment, with the animals in the foreground, the skeletons that you see, and of course the animals in the mural. All of these animals, at least in part, have been found on this site. The saber-toothed cat, the tapir, the alligator, and the rhino are special animals that we found here on this site. The tapir, we found more tapir than, that's what you see there in the middle of the exhibit. Found more tapir on this site than any place in the world, with more than about 55 to 60 individuals thus far, and they're still finding them. The site is a Miocene site. It dates from 4.5 to 7 million years ago. Most people think that we would probably find dinosaurs here, but the truth is there are no dinosaurs here because dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago, long before this site came about. The site began as a series, or at least one huge sinkhole that expanded into probably a shallow lake where animals came to drink water. This portion of the exhibit brings the visitor back into modern-day Tennessee, and as you look around you, the landscape reminds you very much of what you see on the road when you're driving out here from I-26. Also, the animals look more familiar. Wild turkey, fox, and even a deer just above on the horizon behind me. To my right here, there are panels that identify for visitors just exactly what we're talking about when we say 4.5 million years. And to make it a lot more fun, we have phone receivers here that report on the weather conditions. Tom Tapir is actually reporting weather conditions of 4.5 million years ago.
With the Miocene weather report, here's Tom Tapir.
It's quite warm these days, and many animals are finding it difficult to cool off. The pond that used to be here is all but a distant memory. Dense clay sediment has been filling it in for years. Now it's barely even a watering hole. That spells tough times in these high temperatures. Live PIT Radio, this is Tom Tapir.
This portion of the site talks about, shows visitors what the sediments at the Gray Fossil Site really look like. Of course, over top of the dark sediments, you have the typical expected red, brown Tennessee soils. But beneath it are these dark sediments, and the reason why they're dark is that it has a lot of organic material in it. It's been kept damp or wet all these millions of years, and encased in this clay that makes up most of the matrix are these fossils that have not been completely fossilized. So they're very fragile, and you have to use great care in excavating them. But instead of chipping away at rock like most people expect when they talk about a fossil site, we are literally slicing layers of clay away from the fossil bones and plant material to reveal these things. And this is our dig box, and as you can see, this young man is using the skills that he's just learned a few minutes ago out on tour. He's using his skills to excavate bone that's hidden away in the matrix. This dig box is actually composed of synthetic material, so it's not actually damp clay, but just made to look like the damp clay. And he seems to be having a pretty good time there, and I think he's got something. What do you think you have? Is it another taper bone? So here we'll take all these apart, and we might find a fossil out on the fossil site that looks just like that. Now, do you think you can make like a paleontologist and put that back together? Mm-hmm. Well, I think you can do it. You have to use, yep, that's exactly right. And remember, this is what some of these people do every day, all day, upstairs in the lab. We have some people who don't know very much about paleontology, but know a lot about doing puzzles, so they work out well in the lab as well. Yep, that's very good. Yeah, see that? Yep, you got it. Yeah, you just need to, yep, that's it, he did it. Very good. TDOT found this alligator skull when they were doing the road work, and this is what caused them to stop the road work so suddenly, is because they realized they had found something special in this alligator skull. Alligators are not seen commonly in Northeast Tennessee, so it meant that we had a much more coastal environment at the time.
Okay. Oh, wow, you really got it. Well, this is test pit 2, 2004. This is the second test pit we opened up in the year 2004. This is the main dig pit right now. We've been digging here for 3 years. This pit is where we found most of our fossils so far to this point. Danny over there is right now digging up a taper. We've hit several tapers over the last 3 weeks, just scattered all about through here within about a 4-meter range. And so we're still kind of working on that to get him out of the pit. He's hitting phalanges, he's hitting hoof cores. There's a part of a scapula laying down there. Maybe a humerus from the taper. Right behind Danny is a plaster jacket that's got a vertebral column in it, and it's got some ribs in it, and it's just everywhere in this pit. Taper galore right here. This pit has also produced several other animals, including the rhino that's on display in the exhibit. That's a complete rhino. We hit him in 2004, and it took about 9 weeks to dig him out of the ground. It took us about 2 years to prep him. Also, behind Megan, we hit another rhino and dug him out last year, and he was also a complete rhino. This pit has produced anything from alligators, red panda material, sloth material, some elephant material. We've got some ivory from the elephant from this pit. So this has really been a very productive pit since we've been here since 2004. And almost everything that you will see in the museum has come from this pit, with the exception of a few animals like the saber-toothed cat. This site here, the Great Fossil Site, as a whole unity, is the largest taper site in the world, basically. And we've got more tapers here than anywhere else in the United States, and still counting. The fossil site is 140 feet deep. That means we're going to be digging on this site for hundreds of years. We'll never see the end of it. Hopefully our kids and grandkids will still be here digging on it several years from now. So it's just a large site, and it's very rare for this region of the country to be in the Appalachians like this, to have a Miocene site in the Appalachians. Usually you'll find Miocene sites out west in Kansas and Nebraska and those states, and even down in Florida. in some of the coastal states down south, but to have one in East Tennessee is just really strange and really rare. So this is a really important site to have here in this part of the country. That way we can get a better idea of what was going on back in the Miocene.
Well, under this is a padded protection material. This is like tissue paper. These femur heads under here. You got femur heads here. You got a tibia here. We just uncovered this is a hoof core here and here. You got phalanges. You've got just about all parts of a foot showing. Now, I also have frog material right here. This is a frog bone that you see here. And this is part of an ankle. I just uncovered what something maybe metacarpal, metatarsal 1 here. I've got a lot of bone material in here. I have no idea what it is yet. We're not going that far. And I just uncovered this piece here, which we'll have to relieve more of that to see exactly how far it goes down. Now, under me, we have we've got femurs under this protective jacket, this cap jacket. We have a cervical vert that's under this protective jacket. We have a line of verts that go up the hill into this cap jacket here. There's a scapula, which is a shoulder blade here. There's a crushed skull under here and skull material up here. This is all the same animal. We figure it is. It's all been on the slide. There's a lot of stuff in here.
What you see here are sediment bags. Every time we dig in the test pit, we'll dig in meter squares and we'll remove the sediment from that meter and put it into a bucket. And each bucket that we dig from the pit goes into one of these yellow bags, which are each one are labeled with specific information that says Test Pit 2 2004, square AJ, which is the square that that person would be digging in at that time, and on the date 9/12/07. So all this is kept. Nothing is ever thrown away at the grave fossil site. All sediment is kept. And this sediment will eventually go to the back of the fossil site to the water screens, where it will be sifted and everything will come out in the screens. The clay just breaks down and falls through, and what you're left with is plant material, all kinds of organics, bone, and rock. And that's sent to the lab where it's picked. The grave fossil site is about 4.5 to 5 acres within the fence, and this is ETSU property. It spills out on each side of the fences, a little bit on that side, a little bit on this side, so we know the deposit goes a little bit further past our boundaries. But this used to be a sinkhole. It would originally have formed as a sinkhole, a cave collapse which made the sinkhole, which would have filled and capped, and water would have eventually risen in it and formed a pond for the animals to come down and drink in and just do everything. There's been a lot of activity here for all the animals in the region. And probably at one point it formed a natural trap for a lot of those animals. And so that's how a lot of them got stuck in here. It was just a natural trap, and some of them probably even died in the pond as they were just living here. So it's full of animals, hundreds of animals. And where I'm standing right now is another test pit. It's a smaller test pit, but it's called Test Pit 1 2006, and we hit an alligator in this test pit. And we knew it was here because you can see the bank here sloping off really steep. Well, every so often we would come by and see tail vertebrae coming out of the bank here, and it was just washing down the cliff. And we would keep following it, and we would keep finding it. And so we decided, well, there could be a whole alligator there, since we keep finding part of the tail could be in the bank. And so we decided to open up 4 meter squares here and take it down to see if there was anything there, and lo and behold, it was there, and it turned out to be about a 5-foot alligator that's now preserved in the museum.
The red panda we found up here was the first lower mammal we found on this continent. There was one tooth found in 1978 in Washington State. We found panda material underneath the museum before the museum was built, and in the back spoil piles. But the lower mammal we found last August was the first that was found on this continent. We've got 2 different species, seems like, because the teeth we found are unerupted, and they were like young ones and old ones, maybe. But the panda's indigenous to Asia now, and now they're found in Asia, and they come here, I guess, ever how, you know, I don't know. But it's a real important find for us. It put us on the map.